Imagine a single soldier facing an entire enemy platoon and wiping them out all by himself in just one day. Sounds impossible, right? But that's exactly what happened on the battlefields of Ukraine, where one brave drone pilot turned a simple commercial drone into a deadly weapon, changing the course of the war. Here's the incredible story of how this lone Ukrainian fighter took on overwhelming odds and struck a massive blow to Russian forces, and why it matters more than ever. Since the beginning of the war in Ukraine, Vladimir Putin has tried to win by using Russia's larger army. The idea was simple: send wave after wave of soldiers to wear down Ukraine's defenses until they eventually break. But this approach has come at a high human cost. One of the clearest examples happened when a single Ukrainian soldier wiped out an entire Russian platoon in just one day. Using drones and grenades, this soldier killed 40 Russian troops on his own. His name is Andriy Skibin, but most people know him by his call sign Skiba, a name that now strikes fear into Russian forces. The story, shared by United 24 on July 20th, calls Skiba one of Ukraine's most creative and skilled fighters. And for good reason. Skiba's actions on that day changed how Ukraine viewed drone warfare. His success showed that drones, even simple ones, could be just as powerful as guns or missiles. In fact, they could be the key to defending the country. At just 25 years old, Skiba was awarded the Order of the Gold Star, Ukraine's highest honor for bravery in battle. This award, created in 1998, is given only to true war heroes. Skiba earned his medal by showing what drones could do. In one day, he killed 40 Russian soldiers and injured another 40. This happened during the early months of the war, when Russia was not only sending in troops but also using the Wagner Group, a brutal private military force. The Wagner Group, led by Yevgeny Prigozhin, was started in 2014 and officially became a private military company in 2022. Wagner didn't care much about who joined. Many fighters were pulled straight from Russian prisons. By June 2022, Prigozhin had around 25,000 men ready to fight. Putin used these men to push deeper into Ukraine. Wagner fighters were known for committing war crimes. Ukrainian officials say some were involved in killings and torture of civilians in April 2022. They were also blamed for the massacre in Bucha the month before. Wagner later played a major role in the long and bloody Battle of Bakhmut, which helped Russia take control of the city in May 2023. Eventually, tensions grew between Prigozhin and Putin. Prigozhin openly criticized the Russian military and even led a brief rebellion, which many saw as an attempted coup. Though Putin tried to make peace with him afterward, it was clear that trust had been broken. Not long after the failed rebellion, Prigozhin died in a plane crash, something many believe wasn't just a coincidence. It was another example of the mysterious and often deadly consequences of going against the Kremlin. Wagner fighters and Russia's 88th Brigade teamed up in the battle that led to Skiba's heroic stand. For months, these forces launched attacks on Ukraine's defensive lines. During this time, Skiba became an essential part of Ukraine's defense. Reports from United 24 say that on many days he was responsible for the deaths of up to 20 enemy soldiers using just his drones. At that time, drone combat was still new, and Ukraine was figuring things out as they went. Skiba helped develop important tactics, like how high the drones could fly and which paths they should take. His work helped shape the way Ukraine now uses drones in battle and made it easier for soldiers and drone operators to work together. After all the experience and preparation Skiba had gone through, it was only a matter of time before he was called into action. While the exact timing of the event wasn't shared by United 24, the involvement of Wagner Group fighters suggests it likely took place sometime in late 2022 or early 2023. That night, Russian forces, including Wagner mercenaries and troops from the 88th Brigade, launched a major attack under cover of darkness. Skiba was the one who held the line and made a stand. Armed with only 60 F-1 grenades and a Mavic 3T drone, he faced the Russian assault almost entirely on his own. The situation was intense. Grenades were being dropped constantly. At different moments during the attack, Skiba flew his drone just 23 feet above the ground, so low that Russian soldiers could have shot it down if they spotted it. But somehow the drone stayed undetected. Using incredible accuracy, Skiba dropped grenades directly on enemy troops, managing to destroy a full platoon. Without his efforts, nearby Ukrainian units could have suffered heavy losses. By the end of the night, 40 Russian soldiers were killed and another 40 were wounded. Despite the huge impact of what he had done, Skiba didn't boast. When asked about it, he simply said, Yes, I've killed many Russians, but I don't think it's a big deal. This isn't over yet. I'll do more if I can." And he proved he meant it. Not long after, while testing one of Ukraine's first-person view FPV drones, Skiba came across a high-ranking Russian commander known by the call sign Tashkent. He didn't hesitate. He used the drone to strike and eliminate the commander, who was seen as a decorated hero by Russian forces. It was another bold move that pushed Ukraine's drone warfare forward. Following that, Skiba's role grew even more important. He is now the leader of an FPV drone strike team in Ukraine's K2 UAV regiment, one of the most advanced drone units in the country. That unit is currently expanding, and Skiba is leading the way in both technology and leadership. For him, it's about more than just fighting. It's about building and improving something that can make a real difference. And that progress is something the Russian military has reason to fear. With over 1 million casualties already reported on the Russian side, the continued growth of Ukraine's drone program and the skilled pilots behind it will only increase the pressure on Putin's forces. While Skiba often gets much of the attention and credit for his achievements, he hasn't been working alone. Now in charge of his own strike force, he's supported by a diverse and talented team. One of his closest collaborators is a former marksman with the call sign Bacchus, who leads drone platoons from behind the launch areas. Bacchus's father, Kara, is a drone engineer who works alongside the team to make sure every drone sent into battle is ready to hit its target. Others in the unit focus on building and upgrading their technology. Atray, a former AI researcher, handles tasks like wiring and assembling drones between missions. Another team member, Bash, works on scaling and adapting operations so the unit can strike faster and more effectively. Atray explained their mindset clearly when he said, "We used to build, fly and repair everything ourselves. The team is bigger now, but our approach hasn't changed. If something breaks, we fix it and keep going." Looking back, the night Skiba destroyed an entire Russian platoon might seem less extraordinary now, considering how common drones have become on the battlefield. But at the time, he didn't have advanced FPV systems or military-grade equipment. All he had was a civilian-made Mavic 3T drone and a bag of F1 grenades. And with that, he set a new standard for how drone warfare could work in Ukraine. Most of the drones used in Ukraine today weren't originally made for war. They're quadcopters that were designed for civilian use, like filming videos or taking photos from the air. That's part of what makes Skiba's achievements so impressive. Take the Mavic 3T drone he used as an example. Its basic features only highlight how skilled he is as a drone operator. One important detail is the drone's battery life. The Mavic 3T can stay in the air for about 45 minutes before it needs to be recharged. That means during the night he destroyed the Russian platoon, Skiba had to work within a tight time frame. He had less than an hour to fly grenades between his hidden position and the enemy target. Once the drone's battery ran low, he would have had to bring it back, recharge it, and possibly coordinate with Ukrainian troops on the ground to keep track of enemy movement before taking off again. Still, the Mavic 3T had some features that made it suitable for the job. Its small size made it harder to spot at night, even when flying close to the ground. The drone was also equipped with a thermal camera with a resolution of 640 by 512 pixels, which likely helped Skiba aim his strikes with pinpoint accuracy during nighttime missions. The controller for the drone looks a bit like a video game console. It has a large screen showing live footage and simple controls. While it was designed for photography, Skiba used it for something completely different, launching air attacks. The grenades he used were just as important as the drone itself. He carried F1 grenades, a type of explosive designed to injure or kill enemies hiding behind cover. These are fragmentation grenades filled with about 60 grams, or 0.13 pounds, of TNT, which explode into hundreds of sharp metal pieces up to 800 fragments per blast. Once the pin is pulled, the person using the grenade has about 5 seconds to throw it. That short delay meant Skiba had to be very careful when dropping grenades from the drone. If he flew too high, the grenade might explode in the air or miss the target. To get the timing just right, he likely had to fly very low, often just a few meters above the ground. These details show just how much planning and precision went into that mission. Skiba didn't just drop explosives randomly, he calculated every move. And his success that night, killing 40 Russian soldiers, proved it worked. What Skiba did with those early missions helped shape the way Ukraine uses drones in the war today. His creativity and tactics came before drones became a key part of the conflict. Now, drone warfare has become a major part of how both Ukraine and Russia fight. A recent report from The Independent, published on July 17th, explained that many different types of drones, especially FPV drones like the ones Skiba experimented with, are now commonly used on the front lines. Both sides are using them not just for spying, but also for direct attacks. Some drones are even used to destroy other drones. The report mentioned that the battle zones between Ukrainian and Russian troops are now surrounded by deadly drone activity. In some areas, these so-called death zones can stretch over 10 kilometers, about 6.2 miles wide. Skiba's early work with drones clearly helped pave the way for the modern style of warfare we now see across Ukraine's skies. In certain parts of the battlefield, FPV drones now fly in large numbers, quickly spotting and attacking any soldier who enters their range. These drones don't just target individuals or small Russian groups, they also go after armoured vehicles operating near the front lines. To make their drone strikes more effective, Ukraine has set up a system that gathers live video from more than 15,000 drones, helping them identify and prioritise targets in real time. Drones have become a major force in this war, far more than just tools for spying. They now dominate the skies, inflicting serious damage on Putin's army. According to a report from Army Technology published in April, drones are currently responsible for between 70% and 80% of all battlefield casualties in the war between Russia and Ukraine. Think about what that means. On July 22nd alone, Russia lost about 970 soldiers. If that report is accurate, between 679 and 776 of them were likely killed by Ukrainian drones. That same day, Russia also lost 42 artillery systems, 2 armoured fighting vehicles, and 3 tanks. It's very likely that drones were behind many of those losses too, and none of this would have been possible without pioneers like Skiba. Skiba showed that drones weren't just for gathering intel. They could be turned into powerful weapons, even when using basic commercial models like the Mavic 3T. His success proved that once a drone locks onto its target, escape is almost impossible. After Skiba's legendary mission where he wiped out a full Russian platoon in a single night, Ukraine has only increased its focus on building stronger and more advanced drones. Now Russia has bigger worries than just Mavic drones. Ukraine's drone industry has grown rapidly, producing around 4.5 million drones each year. And with more funding, that number could rise to 8 million. As the war moves into its 4th year, the number of drones swarming the skies will only grow, and so will the threat they pose. Ukraine's drones aren't just multiplying, they're getting smarter. On May 29th, the Kyiv Independent reported the first use of what's being called a mother drone. This advanced UAV can travel up to 300 kilometers, about 186 miles, into enemy territory, carrying 2 FPV drones. Once it reaches the area, it uses artificial intelligence to guide the smaller drones and launch surprise attacks on Russian soldiers. This kind of operation costs Ukraine around $10,000, far cheaper than launching a missile, but still just as deadly. And drones aren't just being used in the air. Ukraine now deploys unmanned sea vehicles like the Magura 5-7, which can stay out in open water for days. These have helped weaken Russia's once dominant navy in the Black Sea. Ukraine has also used drones to attack important Russian targets, including the Kerch Bridge, which connects Crimea to mainland Russia. All of this new technology and innovation was made possible by early drone operators like Skiba, who proved what drones could do on the battlefield. Back in 2014, Ukraine had very limited drone resources. According to Katerina Bondar, a fellow at the Vodvany Center for Strategic and International Studies, Ukraine's main drone at that time was the Chinese-made DJI Mavic. It cost around $2,000 and was usually bought by soldiers themselves, since the military didn't have the budget for many. Despite being pricey and limited in number, those drones were incredibly effective for surveillance and intelligence missions. Skiba's role and the early use of these commercial drones laid the groundwork for the powerful drone operations Ukraine runs today. Without those early steps, the current success of Ukraine's drone force likely wouldn't have been possible. More than a decade ago, Ukraine saw the power drones could bring to the battlefield. Since then, they've proven just how effective these flying machines can be against a much larger and better equipped enemy. Skiba took this to a new level by turning a single Mavic drone into a deadly weapon. In July, the Atlantic Council called Ukraine's drone warfare the first real line of defense in Europe against Putin's invading army, showing just how clever and resourceful Ukraine has become. But Skiba isn't done yet. As Ukraine's drone makers create newer, stronger models, his team keeps finding smart new ways to use them. At first glance, taking out an entire Russian battalion might just look like an impressive skill by a great drone pilot. But it was much more than that. That night changed the whole way Ukraine fights in this war. Without Skiba, Ukraine wouldn't have built the drone force it has today. And without that force, the country might not still be standing. Today, Ukraine is leading not only in drone technology, but also in clever battlefield tactics. They strike Russian troops just when the enemy thinks they have the upper hand, using surprise attacks and smart defenses. The Russians thought they were winning, but as you'll see in our video, Ukraine had other plans. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to stay updated with the latest news on the war in Ukraine.